What's up guys, it's in, it's gone, and today we'll be looking at my postseason matchup predictions, breaking them down as well as giving an X factor for every series. Last year, it turned out to be a tale of two leagues for me, as I would end up predicting the entire American League bracket correct, picking the Astros to win the American League pennant, while I would struggle with the upsets in the National League, not having the Phillies even make it out of the first round entirely. Nevertheless, that's baseball, and there's no doubt that crazy occurrences will also happen in this year's playoff bracket as well. With the second year of expanded playoffs, there are now 12 teams with a shot of winning the World Series. In every series, though, I will give my reasons for how both teams could come out on top in the series, but at the end of the day, there will have to be a winner and loser to continue my bracket. But before we get on to the video, could you guys please hit the like and subscribe button? Currently, only 3% of people who watch my videos are subscribed. So if y'all do, not only will it help me grow my channel, but also encourages me to create more videos like this one for you guys. And without further ado, let's get on to the video. As per usual, we'll start with the top left series in the American League, which brings us Rangers-Rays in a matchup that many of us thought was going to be for the pennant at the beginning of the season. Both teams started off scorching hot, leading their divisions by a wide margin, while having the two top records in the American League and consistently finishing top 1 and 2 in the power rankings. However, following their historic hot streaks, both of them fell down to earth hard to the point where they lost the leads in their respective divisions to the Astros and Orioles. Nevertheless, if they can get that early season prowess back that brought them there in the first place, they can be very dangerous and great options to have them go all the way. In the season series, the Rangers won 4-2, with one of those Rays wins coming from Shane McClanahan, who will not be pitching for the Rays this postseason. In fact, McClanahan, Springs, and Drew Rasmussen have all succumbed to injuries, and all of them would have been potential starters during this 3-game set. With Tyler Glasnow lining up as their best starter, I think that they can win one game, especially with the X factor being the Rangers' bottom 10 bullpen, potentially coughing up the lead. Nevertheless, though, I don't think that the Rays' B-list starters can hold off the Rangers' potent offense forever, and I have the Texas Rangers winning in 3 games. The Minnesota Twins, in large part beneficiaries to a pretty mediocre division in the AL Central, still have the resemblance of a playoff team thanks to their strong top-of-the-line pitching in Sonny Gray and Pablo Lopez, along with streaky but overall good hitting led by Royce Lewis, a long-time top-of-the-line prospect finally breaking out in a short stint with the Major League club. They will face the Toronto Blue Jays, who have been consistently good but not great this entire season, never really challenging the Orioles or Rays for the top of that division. In their part, they are led by one of the top hitters in the league in Bo Bichette, as well as a 3-headed pitching rotation of Gausman, Bassett, and Berrios. My X factor in this series has got to be the Twins' injuries to the lineup, and even if they do play, do they produce at all? We know that Carlos Correa and Royce Lewis will probably play with Byron Buxton out. However, we need that Correa and Lewis to play very well in order for this team to win. And in terms of the pitching rotation and bullpen, the two teams are pretty equal in these regards. In my series, I do have the Blue Jays winning in 3 games, with the Twins not having enough depth to last them in Game 3 specifically, especially in that rotation. Now we'll move on to what, in my opinion, is the much more rigid National League, and starting with the wild cards, we have the Brewers and Diamondbacks. In what seems like a given for the past few years, the Brewers have made a playoffs despite a very mediocre offense, by having excellent starting pitching and defense. The Diamondbacks, meanwhile, have been one of the most streaky teams in the league, looking unbeatable in stints and at one point the team to beat in the National League. However, a historically slow start in the second half had them catching up to even make the dance entirely, finishing the season losing 4 in a row. In this series, we'll have to see how this inexperienced young Diamondbacks core of hitters reacts to its first taste of playoff baseball, as opposed to the very experienced Brewers, potentially facing some pressure to make it far after years of early exits and coming up just short. In this series, I think the Diamondbacks starting rotation of Brandon Pfaadt, Zach Gallen, and Merrill Kelly should be enough to keep the D-backs in these games for the most part. Then, at that point, it's up to my X factors in the Brewers starting rotation to stymie the D-backs offense to get the W. In my opinion, this will be one of the lowest scoring and closest wildcard series up there, with the Brewers squeaking by in 3 games. Our last series, we have the Marlins versus the Phillies, and let's get it off the bat. The X factor in this series is just whatever magic the Marlins have to get them there in the first place. With a negative 57 run differential, this team was stupid good in 1-run games and squeaked out by the edge of their teeth in order to make the playoffs in a monumental feat. The Phillies on paper stack up better than the Marlins in just about every facet. Without their Cy Young winner in Sandy Alcantara and their great young rookie in Yuri Perez, the Marlins will be lining up Jesus Luzardo and Braxton Garrett to go games 1 and 2. With the Phillies duo of Wheeler and Nola, even if they haven't pitched up to their own standards, they're still much better combined, and they have a very good bullpen all of a sudden, with Alvarado leading the charge. On the lineup side, things look even more daunting, with the Phillies having one of the best lineups in all postseason brackets, with Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, and Trey Turner, all having the capabilities to put the team on their back. Nevertheless, this series should be still fun to watch, and in my opinion, it just seems like too much has to go right for the Marlins, and although it has happened throughout the entire regular season, I just gotta go with the Phillies to sweep this series in 2 games. Now moving on to the ALDS, and our first matchup includes the Baltimore Orioles and their magical run against the Texas Rangers, both of whom solidified their spot as playoff contenders relatively early in the season. This Orioles starting rotation is super underrated and is my X factor for this series. It's time for people to learn about the names of Dean Kramer, Tyler Wells, Grayson Rodriguez, and John Means. And what better way to make themselves known than with a statement series win against one of the best lineups in the American League. And although the Orioles bullpen did lose their superstar closer in Felix Bautista to injuries, the likes of Cionel Perez, Yainer Cano, and Danny Colombe have all represented more Orioles success stories in a dominant bullpen. It's not like their lineup is anything to scoff at either, boasting one of the best catchers in the league in Adley Rutschman, along with their star rookie Gunnar Henderson. Overall, this Orioles team has the hitting to match this Rangers lineup, and combined with way better starting pitching and a much better bullpen, I think the Orioles make quick work of the Rangers, winning in 4 games. Our other ALDS matchup features the number 2 seeded Houston Astros facing off against the Toronto Blue Jays, who just beat the Twins in 3 games in Minnesota. In my opinion, the fact that Houston is a higher seed here may hurt the Astros in this series specifically. And with them having the higher seed, it means that they do play 3 home games, while the Blue Jays have 2. And if you didn't know, the Astros have been abysmal this year at home, posting a record below 500 at Minute Maid Park, and an excellent traveling record of 21 games above 500 at every other ballpark. This phenomenon is a bit puzzling in that almost every other team should feel more comfortable playing at home, as opposed to playing on the road. Nonetheless, the playoff atmosphere should be very different than the regular season, and I do believe that the Astros should play much better in those 3 games at home with a roaring crowd in their favor. In this series, the X factors will be the Astros starting rotation. Not as good as last year though, the Astros will be looking at potential bounce-back performances from Christian Javier and the continued dominance from Justin Verlander and Framber Valdez to keep those potent Blue Jays bats away. We know that the Astros offense can score runs at will when they're on their game, and in the closest series to 4 of the 4 series, the Astros win in 5 games, with their final game coming at home in a miraculous turn of events from the regular season. Now on to the National League side, and we've got Phillies Braves. We know how hot the Phillies can get when they're on their game from last postseason, and they've only upgraded from last year, adding Trey Turner. From last year, in order to get to the World Series, the Phillies had to get past last year's Braves team. However, this isn't the same Braves team that lost in the NLDS a year ago. Hampered by injuries, the 2022 Braves did not have as deep or potent of a lineup as this current team. They just look unbeatable right now. My X factor in this series will have to be the 4 players Harper, Turner, Schwarber, and Castellanos, and that might be the only way the Phillies could even have a chance in this series. We know that this Braves team can score runs, especially against an exploitable Phillies rotation. However, the best offense will always beat good pitching, and this Braves rotation might be the only weak spot in an otherwise complete team. However, Strider could potentially pitch twice in this series, and he has owned the Phillies this season, holding them to a collective 171 batting average against this season. However, I don't know if it'll even need to come down to that, as I think the Braves win multiple shootouts and ultimately prevail in 4 games. Although most consensus picks will have the Dodgers winning this one easily, I think a lot can happen in this short series. The Dodgers have had to rely on their young starting pitching throughout the season, and it looks like that trend will have to continue with Bobby Miller and/or Sheehan or Grove having to pitch at least a bulk of Game 3 or 4. They will be the X factor in the series, as I think Kershaw and Lance Lynn do give the Dodgers a decent chance already. They just need to win 1 game with their rookie pitchers to feel safe. The Dodgers are a better team on paper, especially in their lineup, in which they have 2 MVP candidates in Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. However, I am never a fan of young starting pitchers in a playoff game. Given the choice between the Brewers rotation that has pitched in big games for the past half decade now, and a young Dodgers rotation, I'd pick the Brewers 10 times out of 10. I think that the Brewers experience is able to exploit a young Dodgers rotation for 2 games, and the Brewers rotation does prove to be locked down for 3 out of the 5 games to upset the Dodgers in 5. The championship series in the American League now features the 2 top-seeded teams in the Orioles and Astros, and all eyes will be on the stars in the lineups in Orioles Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, and the Astros Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez, Alex Bregman, and Jose Altuve. However, in a very overlooked part of the game, my X factors will be the bullpens of both respective teams. When it comes down to this part of the postseason, matchups will be huge to deal with the most important hitters in each respective lineup, and it will be up to the top bullpen arms on both teams like Cano and Abreu to deal with the absolutely lethal top of the lineups. In a really close series like this one, a huge 1-2-3 top of the 8th inning might be enough to sway the series in favor of one team or another. I think, in terms of starting rotation-wise, the 2 teams are equal enough in order to pass the baton over to the bullpen with a slim lead or deficit. And while the Astros lineup has the better players, the Orioles lineup is deeper overall. However, while I think the Astros bullpen is very good, they are not on a historically good level like the Orioles pen even without Felix Bautista. And I think that makes a difference, and the Orioles win a nail-biting series in 7 games. On the National League side, we have the juggernaut Braves facing off against the streaking Brewers, high off their win off the Dodgers. In this series, it will be interesting to see how the Brewers' stellar rotation meets a phenomenal Braves lineup, an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. My X factor in this series will be Burns and Woodruff. Both of them need to pitch the lights out for multiple games to give this Brewers team a chance in this. However, although I do believe that they have the possibility to, this Braves team is just too good, and if they can pounce on even one of these 2 pitchers early enough, they can make this series lopsided pretty quickly, and prevent the Brewers from bringing out their best weapons twice. The Braves starting rotation on the other side should be enough to hold the Brewers' mediocre lineup down throughout most of the series, and the Braves win an unremarkable NLCS in 5 games. And I wish I could have picked a less predictable World Series matchup than the 2 number 1 seeded teams, but hey, both of these teams have shown themselves to be the best throughout the long regular season, and who am I to decide that their prominence will not continue over to the playoffs as well. For the Orioles, this World Series could cap the end of a magical regular season and playoff run with an exclamation point as one of the best seasons of all time in Orioles history, and a reordering of power in the American League for the next decade to come. For the Braves, this will be a returning of the status quo for them, introducing a potential dynasty for years to come, with the Braves being heavy World Series favorites, with a burgeoning core of position players and an excellent developmental staff. In this series, my X factor will be Adley Rutschman. Not only does he have to hit well against this Braves' good starting pitching and bullpen, but he also has to command a pitching rotation that has to deal with the amazing Braves lineup. In this series, though, the Orioles will have all the tools to make this a winnable series, including Rutschman, and that they will have the pitching, defense, and hitting capable of winning it all. But I do feel like a broken record when I say this, though, and that this Braves team is on another level. And what will be a thrilling series for all to see, the Braves ultimately win it all in 7 games, becoming your World Series champions. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, if you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below new video ideas. Also, comment down below what you think I got wrong and what you think I got right in this playoffs. Feel free to post your own playoff predictions down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.